Good morning. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, and we're out here on the road for the next several weeks, perhaps several months, up till the election in November. And you might ask why.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.
You might ask why. Well, the answer is really simple. That is, I more than I am a supporter of any particular presidential candidate, I am very much a supporter of the United States of America. I have been in Cuba and Brazil and the Congo. I have spoken in leadership conferences for the Parliament of the Congo about the concept of democracy. Not pure democracy, but the idea that people have a representative right to represent themselves to the world, to the public. And when an elite group of people, whatever that elite group is, whether it's your political elected officials or it's a bunch of people with a whole lot of money, feel like the rest of the people don't really matter. It's just those of us who have the political will, the political influence, or the pocketbook. We should get to make all the decisions. When that's the case, there's a problem. And part of that problem right now is in our election system, our election cycle, and our election process in the U.S. So we're out helping people to make decisions, not telling them how to make decisions, encouraging to make decisions. I have some opinions. I have some decisions. I have some research that I have done, and I've joined forces with some other people who've already done some research. They have some opinions. They start some conversations. The way they start conversations is not always the way I would do it, which brings me to my lesson for today. The idea that leadership can only be done one way, well, it's absolutely wrong. Leadership obviously can be done many ways. Tyranny, believe it or not, that's a form of leadership. Dictatorship, that's a form of leadership. Passive-aggressive manipulation from the outside, like buying up all the land, administering medications or drugs that not everybody needs or wants, but they're forced on you. Those are all forms of leadership. And so this idea that leadership can only be done one way, it's a fallacy. Let me take that one step further, though, because there's a hands-on application for every one of you who are leaders, who don't see yourselves as a world leader or a political leader, and you're thinking to yourself, why does it apply to me, whether I'm a dictator or a tyrant or the leader of a republic or the leader of a democracy? Well, the reality is this leadership concept has a lot to do with relationship one-on-one. Sometimes it's one person to one person. Sometimes it's 2 to 2 or 4 to 4 or 1 to 4 or 5 or 6. And so in this journey that we're in right now, my wife and I are traveling around in an RV that's owned by somebody else currently and working on their campaign to get out the vote, to raise awareness, to raise recognition. And sometimes this RV gets rewrapped with different messaging. And sometimes that messaging is well received in certain marketplaces. And sometimes it's looked at like, really? How could you believe that? What I find interesting about that transition from how could you believe that to, wow, we absolutely love it, is this preconceived bias that everyone has. My experiences have taught me this, this, and this. My failures have taught me this, this, and this. The things that I've observed or studied or read on others have taught me these things. And so I believe, based on my experiences in my life, that this is the right way, the only way to do this. Not necessarily true. And so the beauty of having these juxtaposed ideas and philosophies and taking them around the world means there's a great opportunity for good conversation. And that good conversation isn't yelling back and forth at each other. This is my idea. They yell their idea. I yell my idea. That's not good conversation. Good conversation is when you hear something that you've never heard before and you think to yourself, maybe I should consider that. Maybe I'll do more research on that topic. And we've had an opportunity just in the last 5 days that we've been out here on the road to have some of those kinds of conversations with people. To talk to people about, why did you vote that way? Why did you vote this way? What do you think about this idea? One of my traveling companions, the people that we're out on the road with, there are 3 young African Americans who are on this campaign with me out on the road doing what I'm doing. And by that I mean selling merchandise to raise funds. Now, the purpose of the organization, Opportunity Centers for America, is to give opportunity for young African Americans and others to find gainful employment without punching a clock at $7.50 an hour or trying to get $20 an hour for working at McDonald's. You know, these are people that are out in the hot sun. You can see my tan lines. We've been in the sun for a few days, working out in the sun, selling merchandise, having powerful conversations. One of those is a young man that is 20 years old. Out of high school, came into this project, graduated from a leadership academy. A sharp kid. Still 20 years old, though. That's 5 years younger than my baby. And so when we get out on the road and we're doing certain things, there's another leader back at the OCOA office in Texas, and then there's me in the field. And sometimes he and I have different ways of doing things. Now, he's got more experience with this on-the-road merchandising idea than I have, but dealing with people, he deals with people a little bit differently than I do. Is it right? Is it wrong? Well, they're used to his style. They've been working with him for 6 to 8 months, some longer than that. I've been working with him for about 8 years. But when we butt heads, we have it out. We have our conversations, sometimes long, hard-fought conversations. We've been in the front seat of an RV together and a semi-truck together traveling across the state, and we've just pounded it out until we come to a conclusion that either we're going to agree and one of us was wrong, which happens on both sides, or, okay, we're never going to see eye to eye on that, but that's okay, we're still friends. When this young man steps into the picture, the other leader and I sometimes are on opposite sides of an opinion or an idea. And as a leader, I've got to be willing to ask the question, how much difference does it really make? If the end of the task or the project or the assignment isn't done the way I believe it should be done, but it is done the way they believe it should be done, does that matter? I mean, who really cares? If in the end nobody is hurt, it doesn't cost any extra money, doesn't take any extra time, there's nothing bad of it. At some point, we as leaders have to be able to bob and weave and say, this is my opinion, this is my desire, this is what I want. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter if I get my way or not. That's probably the hardest lesson for leaders, is that even though you're in charge, you're the leader on site, you're the leader on the scene, you're responsible for the outcome. But ultimately, not so much weight is on that outcome. It's a desire. It's what you want right now. But if you don't get your way, do you throw a hissy fit? Do you leave the campaign? Do you do something entirely different? Well, that's up to you. But remember that every leader has a personality style, their own certain set of characteristics, their own way of doing things. And when you realize that, when you keep that in mind, you'll also realize the skin you have in the game and the ultimate outcome may be more about keeping that relationship intact than it is about getting your way this time. And if you can let it go and be all right with not getting your way this time, but be more suited to building strong relationships, you may find that you have a great advantage in building trusting relationships. Long after the event is over, long after the campaign is over, this campaign only goes through November 5th. That's when we vote. After we vote, things change. We'll move into a new thing and a new season, and that's okay. Will we still have the relationships intact that we started this campaign with? Well, that's completely up to leadership style, completely up to being willing to surrender and go, this one, I'm going to let it go. It's not that big a deal. It's not my way, not what I want, not what I prefer, not even what I think is the best. But that's okay. That's a hard place to get to as a leader, to be able to surrender your will and your way to somebody else. But I can tell you this, as a person of faith, it is the ultimate in leadership to reach the place where you surrender your will and your way to something you may not be accustomed to. Now, these podcasts, while I'm on the road, they may not be as long because I don't always have as much time and space. In fact, we are due on location at our next event in about 30 minutes, and I still got to break camp from the RV. So this message is going to be short, but I hope you'll take the time to just kind of let this settle in. These leadership lessons from the road on a regular basis, I'm going to come back on here and just tell you what we're experiencing, what we've had as conversations. And I've got a whole episode, probably a full half-hour episode when we get the studio put together in the RV, and I can sit down in front of the camera and really give you a full view. Some of the conversations we had have been absolutely enlightening, and I want to share some of those with you because I think they'll be of great value to you. Again, whether you're a political motivated person or not, a person of faith or not, leadership is still influence, nothing more and nothing less, but it is critical to what we do in this world. And if we all sit passively by, if we all wait for somebody else to take the lead, if we all wait for somebody else to make the decisions and change things in our life, we may not like the changes they make. You don't always have to get your way, but you do always have to lead. At a minimum, lead your own life. I'm J Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.
Loren is a master teacher on storytelling, and I learned so much. I'm really going to have to sit down and go back through everything, and I think I might have to have some more coffees with Loren, but it was totally worth my time, and I really highly recommend it if you're looking to grow your ministry, grow your business, grow your career. Loren will serve you well.
Thank you.